And a lot of people are like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, would you rather earn $10,000 a month from your work and then pay $1,000 out of that to pay the mortgage and then maybe reduce your tax come tax time? Or would you rather earn $10,000 from your work plus another $1,000 from your house or your investment property and then pay tax on the investment property income? They're like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, it's a simple equation.
Very simple, yeah.
It's a very simple equation. Earn more, pay tax, or pay more and reduce your tax.
Yep.
You'd rather earn more because you're still going to be further ahead. If you have the right setup, you'll never pay a cent in electricity. You can be off-grid in Sri Lanka, 100%. All you need are batteries, solar panels, and you can have your electric car and never pay for fuel. Where they use, like my Tesla, I can potentially use that entire battery because I've got a 13 kilowatt Tesla battery in the house.
Yep.
The car has a 90 kilowatt battery. Tesla don't allow it, but if there are other brands that let you do that now. Here, if I could pass on one thing to everyone, and this is what I said to you before, money isn't everything. Time is worth more. Don't be scared to take a risk to get your time back. Money you can earn again. Yes, you have to work harder for another year, 2 years. But if you do that now, look, like I said, I haven't worked for anyone since I was 31. The best 10 years, 12 years of my life. I have time. I get a call, Dylan, do you want to go to Hong Kong tomorrow? Yeah, cool, let's go. I have to get permission from the wife. Am I allowed to go? Yeah, okay. Jump on a website, book a flight, literally pack my bag, leave for the airport. That's time. Yeah. Not, hi manager, do you mind if I take leave off next week? Oh no, you can't because we've got, this deadline.
Disclaimer. The information in this Victory Line podcast is for general informational purposes only. It is not intended as professional advice, including financial, legal, medical, or other expert advice. Always seek the guidance of a qualified professional for your specific situation. The views expressed are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect those of any associated organisation.
Welcome to the Victory Line podcast. Lion!
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
And now your host,
O.P. Jayasinghe.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Dilin Arambewala.
How are you?
Nice to see you, bro. So tell me, how's life?
Busy.
Busy?
Very busy. Very busy these days.
Thanks for having me at your crib. I know
problems.
you were hesitant, but I appreciate it. I forced it upon you.
No, that's all right.
No, it's a good venue. You've done well. It's a really nice venue.
No, I appreciate that, man. Like, bit messy at the moment, but, unfortunately, I'm in the middle of organising a big event next weekend, so that's why it's a bit of a mess. But
yeah, in a couple of days' time, almost, right?
This Friday, this Saturday actually. So
by the time this goes live, it would have
probably happened.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So that's on this weekend. So
okay, awesome. I know I take all of my guests through to their early childhood. Let's do that, man.
Okay.
Where were you born?
Wow. Okay. Born in a town called Cookfield in England. Quite some time ago now. We're quite old.
We are getting old.
Yeah. Lived in London or in England till I was 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think from memory, well, from my parents tell me anyway, is we went to Sri Lanka for I think 8 months. We were in Sri Lanka for 8 months. And then from there came to Australia. So 88, April, I think it was.
Wow. So you were one of the early settlers.
Yeah, I'm first generation fob. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And you've got an older brother, so he was well into his primary school.
When we moved here, so 88, so he finished high school in 94, so he would have just started high school. When we moved here. Born in Lanka, was there for a few years, and then moved to England, obviously when I was born and whatnot. Then we were in England, and then we came here. So, so he's 3 different countries. He's educated in 3 different countries, I guess.
Cool,
so,
yeah. How was your transition here? Like, do you remember?
Look, I do. I remember when I was in London. I remember being very small, going to school with my mum. Hand in her pockets because it's freezing over there. I remember those. They're little snippets that I remember.
That you remember.
And then I remember a lot more, obviously, after I moved here. So I would have been 7, 6.5 when we moved here. 6.5, 7. Like again, don't quote me on it, but
yeah.
Here and then, I lived in the city in Melbourne. We lived in Parkville. We were there for 2 or 3 years, I think. And I went to primary school there. Then we moved from there to Bandura. And I spent the majority of my adolescence there until I was I think when did I leave Bandura? I was 20, 18, 19, something like that. So I spent a significant part of my childhood in Bandura.
In Bandura, yeah. So for anyone watching this, I just want to quickly set the context. The reason why I'm having a chat with Dilin is I've known Dilin for 20, 30 years now, and he's done really well for himself, even though he'll probably be too humble to say so. But I want whoever's listening to this to get something out of what he's actually been able to put together. I'm always really happy when, one of our brothers, anyone who succeeds, right? So Dylan's got a lot of life experiences. He has hustled all his life to get to where he is today. So that's why I'm having a chat with him, not because he's my mate. Even if he wasn't my mate and I didn't know him, I would have reached out to him going, man, this guy's actually accomplished something. So I really want you to try and get his psyche and get, how he actually worked hard for all he has. And like I said, just this venue alone, I actually asked him, hey man, let's shoot at the warehouse because there's, the beautiful cars here. It's a nice venue. Let's do it here. So I just want to sort of set the ground rules up front, yeah? So over to you, dude. Bandura, tell me about Bandura.
Wow. Back in the day, considered the sticks, right? So we were the only Lankan, Curry, black people in that whole area. My primary school, I'm sure, actually no, there was one other Sri Lankan girl. Apart from her, the two of us were the only Curries in primary school and high school.
Which high school?
So with my first high school, so it was initially called Greenwood Primary School or something like that. It ended up being Bandura Primary School and then Bandura High School. I was there till end of year 8.
Yeah.
And then following that, when year 9 started, I went to University High in the city.
Nice. That's a fairly high-end school, right?
Yeah, well, it's relative. It's not a private school or anything like that, but it is a very high-ranking government school.
It is, isn't it? Would you compare that with Melbourne High, or is it?
Well, that was a competing school. For not just academics, it was like sporting schools and everything like that. They were the ones that we'd compete with. They wouldn't agree with that because that's a private school.
Yeah.
But no, that's basically we were their competition. They were our competition.
Melbourne High is still private. Sorry, public, right?
Semi-private, I think, or something.
Or was it selective?
I don't know, man. Like
something along the lines, because I know McRob and
their brother and
go
sister
together.
Schools,
And I don't know. I think they must be selective. So okay, so it's very in par.
On par. So we, especially educational wise, back then, the two schools were very close with their, enter marks or whatever it was back then. And
I remember you were working. So this is when I saw, your hustle culture, right? Like. Tell me where you were working. It was an interesting place. Do you remember?
Which part are you talking about? I've worked in a lot of places. I've worked as cleaners. I've worked as DJs. I've worked,
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the first job then.
All right. My first job would have been just after I finished high school. Look, we're from a middle class family, low middle class, whatever you want to put it.
Yeah.
Both my parents worked their butts off.
Every time I hear that, I think of Kamala Harris. But go on. Sorry.
No, but look, both my parents worked really, really hard.
Yeah.
Dad, Apache was working 2 jobs at one time. He was the Sri Lankan Airlines manager, or back then Air Lanka manager here. And then he'd work that 9 to 5 and then go do night shift as a nurse.
Yeah.
My mum was doing 2 jobs. One was taking care of my brother and me. My brother and I, and then she was also a nurse at a nursing home. So we've come from very humble beings. They were, I realistically I didn't get to see that much of my dad because he was working. That's all he did. You were in the same boat, right? Where all our parents have come from that type of being the first generation here.
You just work. Like
that's it.
There's no time for playing with kids or whatever.
No time for enjoyment for themselves, let alone playing with kids.
Yeah, and on top of that, they'll be doing community service or whatever, getting involved.
Whether we go to the Pansala or the whatever committee or, it's...
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, to be honest. Like working all that and any spare time, we'd get dragged into all these community events as well. But I guess it shaped us, right?
100%. It did.
Yeah.
It did. It definitely did. So anyway, like I was saying, so when I was first year uni, I started, what did I start? I think it was a bartender. A waiter and a bartender at the very first.
Do you remember which club?
It wasn't a club. It was called Whitehall Receptions. It was a reception hall in Preston. Started there as just a waiter and then worked my way up over year, I think over a year or two, to the bar manager there, and
Nice.
didn't drink, but I'm still a bar manager. So
Yeah.
but it is what it is. And I think the main thing for that was, again, coming from those beginnings where my parents worked their rear ends off. I didn't want to be reliant on them. I didn't want them to have to spend any money on university books or going out or whatever, and and that's where it started.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that was sort of the first
The
job,
very first
right?
one, yeah.
Yeah. What happened after that? Like, what was the next one?
The next one, actually, it's actually
So
funny.
you're like 18, 19
I
at
was
this
18
point.
at
Okay.
this point.
Yep.
Narishaya, DJ Naz.
Yeah.
Obviously, famous DJ back then.
Still DJing.
Still DJing now.
Kudos. Yep.
Amazing, right?
Yep.
He reached out to me one day, and he was doing some gig or whatever it was, and he had some equipment that he wanted to get. And I thought, look, wow, amazing opportunities. Maybe look at dipping my toe in the DJing world.
Yeah.
So anyway, one thing led to another. I got the equipment, and I started DJing. Started DJing for a company called Moby Disc.
I remember Moby Disc.
Yeah, so wasn't DJing. Definitely wasn't DJing. It was more of a CD and a Discman, and a crossfader, and it was just play, cross. That was it. There was not
Discmans.
Discmans. It was I'll never forget that. But you know what? Paid the bills,
Yeah.
and it was good.
300, 350 bucks a gig, I remember? No.
No, it was
No. That's what they
100
were
to
charging.
$150 a gig.
Really?
That was including travel, all sorts of stuff. So
But would they take a cut?
yeah,
from
so
you?
they'd get 300 to 400 or whatever. We'd get 100 or $150. But when you're 18, $150 is a lot. That's the week covered of fuel and food and everything else for the next week.
Yeah, true.
This is what, 25 years ago.
Yep.
So
Better than working retail, right?
well, yeah, 100%. I did work retail as well, but
Yep.
much better money. And in the end, you get paid to listen to music. So
How long did you do that? Well, actually, that's a silly question because it went on for decades.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, still I do it sometimes now as well. Like we did it here when we were
Yeah,
at the party.
yeah,
So
true.
but no, look, I officially stopped when probably
Just before COVID hit.
yeah, probably. So
Yeah.
just before COVID, and then I thought, no, it was actually no, before that. Actually, I stand corrected. It was when my first was born, my first son. I did it for a few months, and then I thought, you know what? I want my Fridays and Saturdays back. I'd rather spend time with him on a Friday night or a Saturday night than earn $500.
Yeah.
Because again, I guess that ties into coming from a fact that my father never got to spend time with us. He was working all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I wanted to be more immersive, more around and with the kids as much as I could. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so in terms of I'm just trying to track your career progression.
God.
So bartender, then DJing, and but there was a couple of retail jobs. And
yeah. So retail, like I said, I worked at Giordano's for a while. I was a store manager there.
Okay.
Then I worked at a place called Superstars and Legends.
Yes. Tell us some stories about that. So this goes back to the hustle culture.
Hustle.
Yes.
Yeah. So Superstars and Legends basically was a memorabilia store, right? So they used to have stores in all the major shopping centers, and there'd be like a normal retail store. They'd sell signed memorabilia, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Bradman, Tendulkar, whatever you name it.
Yeah.
They had signed photos, boxing gloves, cricket bats, whatever it was, and they'd sell it to the public.
And just make sure you don't get yourself in trouble by whatever you're going to say now. Go for it.
I worked lots of hours there. And yeah, well, I don't know what to say. I look, when I did work there, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable because they had me working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And this is while going to uni. So like, as you know,
Yeah.
remember back in the day,
Full on.
we had full-time uni and I had full-time work. And this is the hustle you were talking about. But I barely went to uni. I was working.
Yeah.
Again, didn't want to rely on my parents. I wanted to do my own thing. But so it was more focus on getting my stuff sorted before university. Still did uni and still did what I needed to. But, just I had my focus all over the place a bit back then.
And along the way, you ended up collecting, you saw the value in
100%.
collecting memorabilia and saw the long-term, hold.
100%. So at this moment, I still have a very significant collection.
Yeah. Tell us some of your stuff.
Okay, well, there are some really cool stuff. So, I've got a Muhammad Ali signed photo. I've got a Sir Donald Bradman signed photo. I've got Tiger Woods. I've got Michael Jordan. I've got, I've pretty much, there's a group. There's usually, when you think about the GOATs or the greatest of all times in every field, I've probably got a signature of one of them.
And that was your aim, right?
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it was Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson,
Michael
Schumacher, Muhammad Ali, Sir Donald Bradman. They were the 5 that I wanted.
Yeah.
I got all 5 of them. Even after I moved on, I kept on collecting. So I recently, about a year ago, got a Usain Bolt signed jersey.
Yeah.
You said, like I said, I got a Schumacher signed shoe as well. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, so look, there's lots of odds and ends. The funniest story when I was working at Superstars is a gentleman walked in with a cricket bat one day, wanting to just sell it off. And unfortunately, fortunately, I should say, the business does not buy from the public because there's a lot of forgeries and a lot of fakes and a lot of things going out.
They don't?
They don't. They only buy from accredited sources.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's not like cash converters,
No,
right?
no, definitely not. So it's only from accredited sources. So they'd go to, like, for example, the way those companies work is they'd pay Muhammad Ali $1,000 for an hour of his time, and in that hour, he'd just sign photos.
Right.
Don't quote me in the numbers, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah, but that's
basically
how it-
the way it works.
Okay.
And in that time, he'd just sign as many as he can, and that's what you pay for. You don't pay per item, you pay per hour with the thing on. So I explained to this gentleman, look, we can't buy off the public, blah, blah, blah. And he was desperate for cash. And he goes, do you want it? And I'm like, look, I'd love to, but look, I was a student. I was 18, 19 maybe. And I'm like, mate, I've probably got $100 on me. He goes, yeah, good. And
No
I'm like,
way.
I'm like, okay, look, I saw the bat. I took the gamble because, it could have been a forgery. Well, I gave him the $100 and I took the bat. And then I think a few weeks went by or a few months maybe. And then I got it sent off to get authenticated. And it was authenticated and it came back with the I think it was 81 or 82 West Indies cricket team and the Australian cricket team. And this was back in 2000 and, so it would have been 18, so 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Valued at 10 grand back then. Dude. Yeah. And I paid $100 for it just because the guy wanted to get rid of it. It was a gamble, but as you said, it's a hustle.
It's
right?
a hustle culture.
So
like you were wanting, you wanted to succeed. You want to just get ahead in life, right?
I had, again, being Lankan, being one of the first people here from our age group, I had a lot of white friends, a lot of, sorry, I should rephrase that, Anglo-Saxon friends.
Yeah.
And, they didn't have the struggles that we did. They were doing okay. I didn't want to be rich. I didn't want to, I just wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be able to not have to worry about, okay, do I have money in my account to put fuel in the car at the next service stop?
Man,
I've that.
been there.
That was the aim.
Yep.
And I think in that time, doing these type of jobs, bartending or waitering or this or DJing or whatever it was, you learn to, think outside the box.
No, I'm still blown away by the 10K valuation. Probably worth a lot more now, right?
Well, half of them are dead, unfortunately. So the half of them have passed on. So when normally what happens is when someone dies, things go through. I haven't valued it since then. So it's been 20 years. It's just sitting there.
Yep.
On my wall somewhere. But
what are you going to do with the collection?
I'll pass it on.
Pass it on to
Look,
kids?
there's something that you can never get. Like Muhammad Ali died, 10 years ago?
Yep.
You'll never get another. Whatever's out in the market is what's out in the market.
Yep.
You'll never have an originally piece of paper or a boxer short or whatever that's been touched by the greatest boxer of all time.
Yeah, that's true.
Just put things in perspective. It just won't happen.
And you said the one that you got signed is before he became sick, right? Before he became
Yes.
unwell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was lucky on a couple of them. So Muhammad Ali was one of them. I got prior to him. Well, he was sick, but he wasn't terminal.
Yep. And his hand wasn't shaking.
Yeah, so it's a clean signature, which is very hard to get.
Yep.
But the biggest one I got like that was the Michael Jackson LP.
Ah.
So I bought a Michael Jackson record signed by him on, I think it was eBay and whatever it was, and I paid $500 US. I can't remember, something like that. And this is, I think I got delivered. I bought it. He died, and then it was delivered to me. So he died in between the time of me paying for it and then me receiving it.
Oh my goodness.
So what, 2009?
Yeah.
So that would have been then. And so that record would have been worth 10 times the amount by the time I got it.
Part of the
So,
timings.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's obviously, you never want that. But
Yeah.
the whole point of this stuff is, preserving some history. These guys, they'll never be another MJ,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson. There'll never be another Ali. You just can't compare anyone new to any of the olden greats. And it's about keeping that history.
Yeah, 100%.
My kids will probably have no idea if they've seen this stuff.
I think they'll appreciate
They know Michael Jackson because they drive me crazy because that's all they listen to in the car.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't know the value of it. Maybe, 10, 15, 20 years time they will.
Yeah, give it time. Hopefully they will. You would hope so, right? But was that the most interesting job that you've had? Because
Oh,
that's sort of my earliest memory of you working, working really hard.
no. So, well, I was also working as a cleaner. So,
What?
yeah. So I worked as a cleaner just after Superstars because I needed to tie in with my life. What I mean by that is I used to live in Bandura still. Used to travel quite a lot every day to go to uni and extracurricular activities. And then I'd have to go to work and then come home. So I needed a job that I could do everything I needed to and then get to work by 6, 7 in the evening, work till 11, 12 at night, go home and then be home out of the house by about 5 in the morning to be able to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, I did that for a good 2 years.
That's incredible. Call him back. After Superstars and Legends?
So that was the cleaning. After that,
After cleaning, yeah.
then I started working at Telstra. And I was at Telstra for quite some time. Phone Zone initially, which is a Telstra dealer.
Yep.
And then after that went direct Telstra. And I was there overall between Phone Zone and Telstra for a good 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Telstra was a huge part of your life, right? In terms of, you really learned to sell.
100%. That's where I learned.
Yeah.
Sales is it's not as easy as what people think.
Okay.
It's not as simple as just saying, do you want this? Take it or leave
Yeah.
it. It's not that. That's not the way it works. Sales, there's a lot of techniques when it comes to sales. And that's where I learned that art is from Telstra.
Did you go to any training courses?
No, it was just on hand, just literally thrown in the deep end. Started working in retail again, so at Chadstone Shopping Centre is where I was based. Worked there.
Commission based as well?
No. So salary plus
commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the salary was peanuts. I was working full time again through uni, but full time it was probably 40,000 a year, 35,000 a year as a base salary plus comms. Sorry. But yeah, so I went through that. I did that. I had a really good bunch of blokes that I worked with. Do you remember Sebastian and Sebastian and John Fenton and all of them? Yeah, so great bunch of guys.
Bunch of guys.
It was more of a second family more than work. And then went from that to doing business to business, dealing with all the corporate clients in the area.
Jeez, you're bringing back old memories because I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did all.
You got me onto that plan. 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like we shouldn't have, but we got all of our friends onto the same plan as well. So we'd all have nothing but free calls.
Nothing but free calls, and free calls back then was priceless.
Yeah, typical curries. But anyway, just find the loophole. So we did that, and then from Telstra.
I'm just thinking, if it hadn't been for that, our bills would have been through the roof.
Well, back then there was Optus curry time, 8 p.m. to midnight, which was free, or Telstra 10 minutes all the time.
All the time.
So, which is the one that, and it was only on a Telstra business plan or something, I remember.
Yeah.
So, and we had I think 10 of us, 12 of us, whatever it was, all on the one plan.
All on the one plan.
So that we could all
amazing.
talk. Yeah.
Yes.
The boys group, I remember that. And I remember you not getting paid for half of it as well.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. Yeah. Anyway,
that's another video.
Story. That's another thing. So where are we up to now?
So Telstra, worked there until pretty much I got married.
Okay.
So
a long time, right?
Yeah, probably. Look, I got married when I was 26.
Yeah.
So
one of the first ones in the group, if I'm not mistaken.
probably, I think Mario got married, I think a few months before me.
Before you. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Mario first, and then I was like, I think Mario was December and I was January or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we were pretty much one of the first, yeah. Yeah, so that was the work life, and then obviously after that did quite a lot of different jobs up until my wife got pregnant, which was 2013. So I got married in 2009, 2013, and in that period I actually went from Telstra to HP to ASUS, and then to True Value Solar. I don't know if
Value Solar.
and that's when Dilin got pregnant. And then I decided, okay, this is the time that I put my head down, bum up, and just work my ass off. I was doing 74, 75 hours a week continuously, earning some good dollars. But the whole point of that was so that I could, once the child, girl or boy, whatever was born, I could just step away. Because that's my ideal scenario, was for me to be able to move away from the corporate life.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. And I have a few people to thank for that. You're one of them, because you and, other people that we were involved in network marketing and, and what I mean, like.
Yeah, we've got the mentality right.
100%,
right?
yeah.
We've got the mindset of the
rat
difference.
race.
Yeah, the rat race.
We got the mindset of the rat race.
Yeah.
We decided, I decided that there was a limit on how much I could work.
Yeah.
Because look, I made good money, right? In sales, whatever, I made great money.
Yeah.
But if I made great money, how much are the people above me making?
Yeah.
That was my mind.
Yep.
So if I made great money, they must be making even better money. So I didn't want to be the one making the money with the hard work. I wanted to be making the money with other people working for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I got out of the rat race after, like, I guess, and I'm not ashamed to say it, it's like the mentality that I was taught from Amway. Reading, I didn't read many of the books. I listened to a lot of those, the CDs, but, Mike Wilson's talks and things like that, they really stuck. They made me realize that, if you want to get ahead in life, it's not the 9-to-5 grind, being happy with a check that comes in every month, that you're going to live happily. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I realized when we were doing Amway that you got to take risks, and you've got to be able to be the one that thinks out of the box.
Absolutely. I mean, even now I see a lot of, like, obviously the property prices have gone through the roof and stuff, and I know Aussie battlers are struggling, but these same people are
But
working.
I don't agree with that, though. I don't agree with that. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you,
go
but I've had this conversation with other people as well. But so I was 24 when I first bought my first property. My friends were drinking, apart from you. The two of us obviously didn't drink, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of that stuff. But our other friends, drinking, clubbing every night, spending money on branded things, this, that, the other thing. The only thing that I had a nice car.
Yeah.
I always had a nice car because I like cars, right? But apart from that, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of that. And I saved my money. I bought a house when I was 24. And that, thanks, 100% goes to my father. He wanted me to buy a house. I said no, but he goes, no, you're buying a house. I bought a house when I was 24. The best decision that was ever made for me, because I had to pay that house off, right?
Yeah.
There are reasons. Oh, look, I'll go into the reasons for buying that as well. Like throughout that time, my family went through some hard times. My parents had started to do really, really well in the late 90s. And then they bought their own nursing home and did everything, by the book. And unfortunately, their management style and or the way they did it didn't work. They went overseas for, I think, a 2-month period, left their business in charge of a management company, paid the company to manage it, and they ran it into the ground. Everything was gone. Parents lost everything. We had multiple houses, gone. We had cars, Mercedes, 4-wheel drive, all gone, because it wasn't managed properly.
So they make the directors responsible.
Yeah, because my father, unfortunately, again, not due to anything else, it's just unfortunately he wasn't aware of the consequences of putting down
Personal guarantor.
guarantees.
Yeah.
Like the house was a guarantee for the business. Or the other house was a guarantee for the other part of the business. Things like so on and so forth.
Yeah.
He wasn't aware. He just did what he needed to get ahead. And you know what? Kudos to him for trying it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just didn't work.
And you know what, man? Like, kudos to you for sharing that, because you go on social media, you only see one side of the story.
100%.
You don't see all the stuff that goes on. Like, and I speak to, friends in that, and everyone thinks their family's got some sort of issue, blah, 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 but they don't want to share that, right? But every single person is
100%.
going through some sort of trauma, some sort of issue, some sort of failure, obviously successes as well, but on social media, you only see that one lens.
100%. And to be honest, the successful people have had more failures than the rest.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that go, you know what? No, I'm not going to settle for failing. And back to what I was saying about the house, my mother pulled me up one day, and I'll never forget it. We were living in Vermont near Charlene's house. We were renting, and my mother pulls me up. This is after, of all the shit that hit the fan. And my mum pulls me up and goes, you know what? I've worked my entire life, and I'll quote her for this. I've worked my entire life, and I can't even step on a piece of grass that I own. That hurt. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Very next day, did what I needed to do. Within a week, I had pre-approvals done, and within a month, I had made an offer. And well, actually, we won the house at auction. But yeah, that was all done within a month. We settled within 60 days. Within 3 months of my mum saying that, she had her own place that she could step on grass that belonged to her.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted back then.
And that's the thing. People don't know these stories,
no.
man. Like,
They see, look, and you know what? You've known me for a long time. I don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't. I don't do things I do to show people. I don't do things I do to get people's approval. What you see is what you get, which rubs a lot of people the wrong way because, if they ask for an opinion or whatever it is of me, I'll give it. I'm going to give them a straight opinion. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or, how I'm going to hurt his feelings. No, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, because my family's here, they were doing well. Everything I've done has been a hand-me-down from them. And you know what? I'm happy for them to keep thinking that. Because in the end, I'm here because I know who's helped me.
yeah.
I know whether it doesn't, not financially, but even verbally, like the amount of talks that you and I have had, or Mario and I have had, or our close group of friends have had.
Yeah.
They've helped every one of us in certain ways.
100%.
My brother, big role model for me. But yeah, like it's taken a lot of falls to get to where we're at.
Yeah, man. I agree. And what your mom said really resonates with me as well. So I get it. As a son, you want to be able to take care of your
100%.
parents and
Well, that's
all
our
that
culture.
stuff.
Our culture expects us, that's another kettle of fish. We
Yeah.
can go into that. But the culture expects us to, as men, or boys or men or whatever it is, go to school, study well, go to uni, study hard, pass with honors,
Yeah.
get a good job, lawyer, doctor, dentist, whatever it is, right? Those 4 or 5, engineer, work till you're 60, and in that time, raise a family, take care of your family, take care of your kids, take care of your wife, take care of your parents. This is what culture expects. We can't change that.
Yeah.
Well, we can, and we need to, but it's too late for me because that's what my parents, whether they did it knowingly or not, that was what was enforced in all of our group, right? You know that we've had these conversations recently as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm looking to change with my children. But you do what you need to do the hustle.
I 100% agree, because I think we need to change that mentality of
100.
getting a flashy job just to tick a box, just for the ego, just for the status. Doesn't mean anything. I think I've shared this story before. I ended up going to a telco shop, and there was a young man there. He had just finished doing biomed or something like that. And he needed to specialized. His parents were pushing them to go through different parts, and he's just going, bro, I don't want to. And he's just met me. He goes, I don't want to, because I'm only going to be getting 150 max. And I have to study another 4 years to get there. What's the point? And I go to him, I go, you're right. If you need me to speak to your dad, you've got my number now. Just get him to give me a call. I'm happy to have a chat. And I'm fully an advocate, because I know people who are doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, who are depressed, do not like their job. And what's more, it's gotten to the point they're like almost suicidal. So it's real serious problems. There are better ways to make money. Ta-da! right? There are other ways to make money legally, ethically, without doing anything wrong, all above books. And, that's obviously the reason why I'm having a chat with Dylan. Going back to the point, I guess, before, you weren't working the 40-hour week, coming home and watching Foxtel on Netflix. That didn't happen. And I think that's the problem, the psyche that we have today with people expecting something to happen just by working the 40 hours is the bare minimum. That's it. That's
I don't think, I'll just to interrupt you, I don't think I've turned the TV on in 4 years.
That's what I mean, man.
I don't think I've turned on, we've got everything set up, projectors, whatever. I haven't watched, no, I tell a lie. Apart from when the family want to watch something, I personally, I'm sitting there, I'm there with them, I'm doing work. I'm doing something on my phone, and it's not social media. I hate social media.
Yeah.
Right? I'm on Facebook, my group, no, I never post anything, because you know what? It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now. I'm not on Insta. I don't do any of that because my time is worth more to me. If I am on my phone, it's literally doing work. Or if I'm on my laptop, it's doing work. But I don't want to have the kids not have me there or the wife not have me there. So if they're watching TV, or I try and make time to go and do it. There are times when I need to have a vent and do my thing, and that started in COVID. That's to be honest, that's playing Warzone.
Okay.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Okay.
Yeah, so playing that. I play a fair bit of that.
Yep.
That's my venting time and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
everyone needs a sort of a healthy vice.
I don't know if it's healthy. It's usually killing people, but
but do you know what I mean? For mental.
Yeah, it's a mental release.
Yeah, as long as you've got it under control.
100%. Yeah. And realistically, like you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people I know work the 40, 45 hours a week, come home, eat, spend 3 hours watching TV, go to bed, and rinse and repeat. That's their day. I can't do that. My head, after I got married and we had our first child, when I stepped away from the corporate, like I was saying, I stepped away. I had an idea that came from one of Dilini's friends' husbands. It was just a random conversation we were having, and he just made a random mention of he rents out a room in his house.
So this is while you were working at True Value Solar, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I remember you were pulling in like 80 plus hours at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
75 to 80 hours a week. Good money.
Good money, yeah.
No life.
Yep.
Right? But anyway, so I had a chat. I was having a chat, and he said, "Oh yeah, I rent this room out, and he covers half of the mortgage, the rent." I'm like, "Sorry, what does that mean?" Anyway, and had a conversation with him, and then went home and did some numbers, and thought, you know what, I could probably make this into a business. This could, again, this is my thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's see. Did the numbers, made sense. Took a huge gamble. Bought a property up in Berwick and converted it to a rooming house. And it was an absolute shitbox of a house. Great big property, house was solid, but the day we went to see the house, Dilin and I went to see the house, and the agent stood outside and said, "Okay, when we go in, hold your breath." Like, Dilin's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Look, this guy that owns the property, that lives in the property, isn't the cleanest person in the world." I'm like, "All right, look, how bad could it be?" And he goes, "Just, we've had people come and just turn around and go," he said. And I'm like, "All right, cool." Walked in, and wow, it hit you like a ton of bricks. He had multiple pets, 2 great big dogs. He would work during the day. The dogs would be inside. And the dogs would do their business, 1s and 2s on the carpet, right? It gets better. When he'd come home, he would let his 2 pet snakes out of their cage, and they'd be slithering around. I don't know if they smell. The dog smell got rid of most of it. But those 2 massive snakes, I don't even know what kind of snake. I hate snakes. But what he'd do to feed them would feed them live mice. So he was growing live mice in another bedroom. So he had buckets upon buckets upon buckets of mice. He was breeding them.
Crazy.
Just so he could feed the snakes, so that he could keep them as pets. And this is what scared everyone that came to that house off.
In a rental property?
No, it was his house. It
was his house?
Yeah, well, his mother's house or something. But this is what would scare potential buyers off. And as you know me, look, when I look at doing something, it's not what I see.
Yeah. It's what it could be.
It's what it potential
Yep.
could be. It's the potential that intrigues me. And this is a really good area, good house, absolutely disgusting inside, but the potential was there. And the fact that all the, the bad stuff was there was no one else interested in it. I made a cheeky offer. They counted, we agreed, I bought the house. Within,
So did you know anything about property at this point in time?
apart from the fact that my father made me buy one when I was 24,
Yeah.
so this was a good 8 years since, I knew nothing.
So you didn't know about land sizes, buying the worst house in the best
Knew nothing.
block, nothing.
I'll be honest.
Okay.
Up until I bought that house, I hadn't even changed my original loan. I was on the higher loan rate
Yep.
from 8 years prior, never changed it because I didn't know anything about it. I just thought, the banks, the banks are the banks. They'll tell me whatever. So I was paying, back in the day, it was probably about 8 or 9%, when the market was 5.
Right.
So for 7 years, I had just done it and not known. When I bought this house is when things started to click. Hang on, the banks aren't here to help.
Yeah.
You need to start looking after yourself a bit.
Yep.
And that's when, so I started the rooming house, had it up and running within a month. As you know, I learned a lot of trades, pulling walls down, putting walls up, redoing flooring, all of this stuff. I just thought I'd try.
Well, I got the confidence to do it from you, obviously, right? So I'm forever grateful.
And
Right?
that's all, it was just all, even the walls that we put up in your place, right? It was just, we try it.
We just tried it, and it came out awesome, right?
What's the worst that can happen? We just waste $500 or whatever it is, and we just get someone to redo it.
Yep. Yep.
But I thought with the flooring, I did the flooring. That took a bit of time, but the flooring would have been about $7,000 or $8,000 to do if I got someone to do it. I put the flooring in. It cost me less than $2,000. I probably saved $5,000 out of it.
Yeah.
Which then helped me do it to every other house that we've got. Every other house, everyone I know that had houses back then, we'd do the flooring for.
Yeah. Did you do the walls as well?
Yeah, we did. We pulled down some walls. We put up new walls. They're all new. They were just experiences. Even with yours was the first false wall we had done. Prior to that, I had taken walls down that were there and replastered and whatnot. But yours is the one that we literally put a wall. There was no wall.
Well, yeah.
So
since then, I've done it a couple of times
Okay.
now. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I've got a.
You've got a damn pack.
I've got a damn pack now. Okay, interesting. So, did you buy one every year? How? What
Yeah,
was
so
the-
after the first one, when I bought the first one, I was still working at True Value, like I said. Again, after about 3 months, I had it fully tenanted,
Yeah.
and the income I was getting off that could replace a normal person's salary. Not my salary, because
You were working.
I was
extra
working
long.
double,
Yep.
and I was earning probably triple what a normal person was. But one house would cover one person's normal salary, 50, 60 grand a year.
And I remember, you probably remember this conversation as well, because we were at Trevor's house and you're going, I'm working on something. Just watch.
And I
And I'll
said,
come back to you.
and
Yeah.
the reason I said that is because, as you know, I will never ask people to do something unless I can prove it or disprove it first. I don't want my boys, my brothers, like you said it before, to lose their hard-earned money
Yeah.
on a punt. I will try it first. If it works, then I'll bring everyone with me. I'll take everyone with me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it's my no harm, no foul. I'm the one who's lost money
Yeah.
and time. And yeah, so did the first one. 3 months into it, thought, shit, this works. There's a need, and I know I've kind of figured out the formula. Within 6 months, started looking for a second property. Within the first year, after that, I bought a second property, and then we've just bought properties every year, one a year since then,
Okay. Awesome.
up until COVID.
And then how did you pivot from there? So that at that point in time, when did you give up
Working.
sort of working?
When I bought the day the second house settled,
Yeah.
I handed my resignation in.
Did you?
I have not worked for anyone since.
Age?
31.
Amazing. Are you serious?
31. So Avi my older son was just turning 1 or just before he turned 1.
That's amazing. I didn't actually realize that was 31. I thought it was maybe mid 30s. So
31.
if anyone's listening to this still, this is why I'm talking to Dylan, right? Just try and pay attention. So keep going.
Yeah, so 31, bought the second house, it settled, a couple of months, had that up and running, bring in dollars.
Okay.
It was just rinse and repeat. It was just And that's when I was telling everyone, and I was on your back for 8 years.
Yeah, took me a while.
Yeah, but it happened. And that worked, and it still works. It still works. A lot of work though. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
It is a lot.
You know that. You know the effort.
Would you? How can I put it? So at this point in time, when you've had this, you were fairly chilled, right? Like almost working just to maintain things, but you were just spending time with the kids.
The only one we had back then. But yeah, so it was very. I'm one of these people. I don't like getting involved in something unless I'm going to go full on with it.
Yeah.
So once this had started, I had to commit, and I went full on. So even though I wasn't working with anyone, I was still probably working quite a lot. There's some very interesting stories that I could tell you with some of the issues that I had in these properties.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Share some, because it'll be interesting for people to understand that it's not all what does it say? Red roses and
it's
rainbows.
It's definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want an example, this is a really bad example, but I don't know if I should. Okay, well, we had a gentleman in one of the rooming houses. He was in the master bedroom. Caucasian, probably mid to late 20s.
Yep.
So a bit younger than me. But he wasn't all there. So he had some kind of disability, a mental disability of some kind.
Yep.
Again, none of my business, didn't care as long as he did everything right and there was no dramas.
Yep.
Anyway, I used to get a call every day at one stage from the other tenant saying the smoke alarm's going off. Because in the rooming houses,
interlocking smoke.
all the rooms have to have smoke alarms that are connected, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and it would all happen at a certain time. Anyway, so I'd go there and I'd figure it out, and then I figured out that one of the gentlemen in the main bedroom, the master with his ensuite, he was having a shower at that certain time, and I go to him, okay, so I had a chat to him, like, what's going on? Oh no, I'm just having a shower, and he goes, all right, well, you need to turn the hot water down or whatever it is because that's setting the smoke alarms off. Which is really weird, right? Because, steam normally doesn't unless it's overpowering.
Yeah.
Anyway, that went on for about a week and it just continued. And then one thing later on, I said, look, I need to come and see what's going on. You obviously have a blockage somewhere. He was hesitant. And then he lost it. He didn't lose it at me, like not physical or violent. He just went all crazy. And then anyway, I gave notice and whatnot and then went into the room with him and all the people, everything done officially. And I found that the gentleman had blocked his toilet. So he was someone that would go and do number twos and would not flush it properly. And it had blocked the toilet all the way up to the seat. Right?
Yeah.
And because now he didn't have a spot to do his business, he would do it in the shower. And then turn the hot water on to wash it down.
Jeez.
So, as you can understand, he was unfortunately, I had to ask him to leave because there was $3,500 damage done because it all had to be replumbed. No plumber wanted to touch it. I had to do it, gloves on, shirt off, taking toilet out, covered in feces, cleaning the showers, doing all that. But, these are the hustles that I had to do.
That's the thing, man.
But no one knows any of that.
Nobody knows this. Everyone thinks...
you didn't even know about that story.
I didn't even know about that story.
And there's plenty of things like that.
Yeah, I've got a few stories like that, but that's pretty bad.
Yeah, like this was bad. This gave me a few nightmares for a while.
Yeah.
But you take the good with the bad. Being able to do that is what enabled me to do what I had to with the family, and live my other, dreams of being able to do other things. So we travel a lot, whatnot like that. These are the things that let me do that.
Yeah.
You take the good with the bad.
So at this point in time, you had a decent sized portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
What made you pivot into
the next step?
That
was one of them. That one example was one of them because they were getting more and more common. And this is about 2016, I think. A friend of mine who I worked with at True Valley Solar prior, we were close mates. Esha, you've met Esha,
Yeah,
I think?
yeah.
And we were having a chat and whatnot, and then we decided we wanted to start something. Airbnb was not a big thing in Australia. It was America, massive thing in America. We decided we'd start Airbnb here. So not a different one, literally Airbnb itself, just literally off that platform. Again, I told you guys, look, there's something I'm working on, but let me suss it out first. And tried it for about 3 months. got through the teething issues that normally startup businesses have. After about 12 months, started earning a decent profit from the multiple properties we had. And then when that started to pick up, I started to wind down the rooming houses, and the Airbnb would go up, the rooming houses would come down. At one stage, we were at, I think, mid 40 properties in Airbnb.
Yeah. Was the reason why you decided to wind down the rooming house and wind this up, was it because of you can put systems and automation in place?
100%.
Okay.
We got to the point that we were able to, again, so I had replaced my income with the rooming houses, but then I had replaced my rooming house income with the Airbnbs, because the Airbnbs were easier to manage. Rooming houses, easy money, a lot of work. Look, sometimes I'd get calls at 3 a.m. People are locked out. I need to go and open them, because we had electronic door locks and whatnot. And it's something I had to do. It's part of my job, part of my business. That got annoying, especially with a 1-year-old. And, by then he was 2. And then Dilin, we had the second one by the time we started the Airbnb business. And, life was a bit up and down then. So I needed something to pivot to, which is why the Airbnb made sense.
Yeah, okay. So you ended up scaling this up. Scaling meaning, I mean, you might as well just give them the business model, which is, because it's a bit funny now anyway, right?
Yeah, right now it's different, but when we started, basically what we did is we rented an apartment in Spencer Street first. It was a studio apartment. We thought we'd try it. We rented it for 12 months. Said, look, worst case scenario, it cost us $2,000 a month, $24,000 in the year.
Yep.
And that's between two of us, $12,000 each, but it's a business opportunity. Let's try it. After about 3 months, that property alone was probably bringing in, after we paid rent, $1,000 a month in profit.
Nice.
Just one property. And we're like, oh, that makes sense. If we can do that, that's per month.
Yep.
Could you imagine what else we could do?
Did you have to get permission from the
Yeah.
owner?
So everything was above board.
Okay.
A lot of people do it dodgily. We were not. Whenever we spoke to an agent or an owner or whatever it was, we were very upfront. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
I explained to them what the scenario is. Told them, look, the real truth is Airbnbs are kept in better condition than normal rentals.
Yep.
If you think about a normal rental, you say you own a property, right? You own a flat or an apartment in Spencer Street. You give it to an agent who handles it for you. That agent rents it out, charge you 6%, 10%, whatever it is. I don't even know. 6%, right? And then what do they do with that 6%? They advertise it, but you pay for. But then they go and do 6 monthly visits to make sure the apartment's okay.
Yep.
So 6 monthly visits means if I was renting, that means I would only need to clean the apartment, put everything feasibly together just before they come in.
Yeah. Which is what often happens.
Which is what everyone does, right? So then that means the apartment's not really taken care of.
Yep.
The Airbnb mentality is you get that apartment cleaned back to new standard after every time someone checks in and checks out. Or checks out, I should say.
Because this was your selling proposition kind of thing, yeah.
So if you were the owner, I'd be like, mate, look, you get your thing done 6 months. I get it done every 3 days.
Yep.
And it's kept in top-notch condition. If it's not, anything that needs to be fixed gets fixed, because the next clients that come in expect it to be top-notch.
Yeah.
And this is like a rolling proposition. Every month there'd be 5, 10, 15 check-in, check-outs.
Yep.
Which means the apartments are kept in immaculate condition. Yes, there's more foot traffic, but it's not really more foot traffic, because even if you have someone that you rent it out full-time to, they're going to do the same things.
Yeah.
Use the shower the same amount of time, turn the tap the same amount of time. And that was my proposition. And look, it worked, and it still does work. And it just...
What are you finding now?
COVID.
Okay.
COVID screwed it. COVID is what put everything on the back foot.
How so? Just people don't have the...
Well, let's think about it. When COVID happened, what were especially in Melbourne, what were the biggest issues we had? Tourism dropped. Melbourne's tourism still hasn't picked it up. We're 5 years after COVID, we're still nowhere near what the tourism we had.
Mm-hmm.
Sporting events closed. I'm not, and when I say tourism, I don't mean just domestic. I mean international tourism. Back then, we used to have a lot of, again, typecasting, but a lot of Asian visitors. Melbourne was full of Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean visitors all the time. Our Airbnbs, I would say, were about 90% full of Asian visitors.
Ah,
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. The city-based ones, anyway. Obviously, we had stuff everywhere, but the city-based ones were about 90% Asian. And unfortunately, COVID happened, borders closed. The Asians haven't come back. They just stopped.
Damn.
And
Okay.
obviously, in that time, they've had other issues with the China-Australia trade wars and
Yeah,
all this other
yeah.
stuff that's happened. But the tourism hasn't picked up. If you go into the city now, how many coffee shops are open?
Man, it's dead. It's dead. You go out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get a coffee. It's not easy. I mean, there's coffee shops open, but it's not like it used to be.
Back in the day, you go to every corner, there was a little hut.
Yeah,
How many huts are there now? It's just not the same.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, same issue. You go to South Bank, Docklands,
Yep.
Even Geelong, where I used to work. You go at 2, 3 in the afternoon, nothing.
Nothing. And that's why, again, this is again a different kettle of fish, but that's why I don't see this being fixed for quite some time. Obviously, COVID itself, like the shutdown, let's not get involved in the politics of it, but that screwed over a lot of people, businesses.
Yeah,
I think, again, who am I to make this decision? But my opinion on it is that that's a generational debt that we'll have to pay. Our kids will have to pay. Our kids will probably have to pay for us to eventually get back to, hopefully one day, where it was.
where it's a surplus or positive. Yep.
Yeah. We're talking decades for that. So
So what have you done now? Just sort of completely wind down all the underperforming Airbnbs at the moment?
yeah, so we closed down all of the city ones. We had 30 in the city, all gone,
Ah, jeez.
all gone,
Okay.
completely stopped because it wasn't feasible. We were losing money on them.
Yeah.
So we completely stopped. We've got a handful of them around still that are in key areas that make sense. Geelong, easy money maker, right? I still tell people, and I've got when I was talking to, I won't name names, but certain clients, when they were talking to me about before buying property, I'd tell them there are a few key assets you need to look for. And this is what touches on what you said before. When you're buying property for Airbnb or whatever it is, a lot of people just look at capital growth, which is great. Capital growth is the reason you buy property. But what's the point in getting a property that's capital growth if it's going to cost you money monthly? So negative gear.
Negative gear,
For better, look, I don't know if everyone knows what it is or whatever, but negative gear was a term that was brought out in the 90s pretty much to make everyone feel better about spending their hard-earned cash on earning property.
With the hopeful thing that
You'll bring your tax down.
and the property will go up to and make the difference.
Great.
Which is basically just a sales pitch by the accountants, right?
Yeah. My mentality to the people that I spoke to is great. Look for a property that's going to get you capital growth, but look for a property that's going to get you positively geared. And a lot of people are like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, would you rather earn $10,000 a month from your work and then pay $1,000 out of that to pay the mortgage and then maybe reduce your tax come tax time? Or would you rather earn $10,000 from your work plus another $1,000 from your house or your investment property and then pay tax on the investment property income?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, it's a simple equation.
Very simple, yeah.
It's a very simple equation. Earn more, pay tax, or pay more and reduce your tax.
Yep.
You'd rather earn more because you're still going to be further ahead.
Absolutely.
And these are the things that, you said before. I started giving advice to friends and family and clients would be like, buy the biggest block of land you can get in the best area you can get with the absolute shittest house you can get,
Yep.
right? What I mean by that is if this was the block of land and say, I don't know, I didn't have anything else, but say something else, that's the house. The reason we have properties that go up in value is not the house. It's the block of land that goes up.
Yep.
The bigger the block of land, the bigger the ratio it goes up. Your house, from the time you buy a brand new house, I think the depreciation is like 15 or 20 years or whatever it is, but every time you switch a light bulb on, like a switch, turn the tap, open a doorknob, you're actually depreciating your house. Your house actually goes down in value. The reason we have capital growth is because the rate that the land goes up is a higher rate than what the property, the building comes down.
Comes down. Yep.
Simple economics.
Yep.
So, how do you maximize it? Get the biggest block of land you can get with the smallest house or the cheapest house you can get, and renovate it if you need to. Right? This is how this is the way we did it.
Yeah,
that's the way I
100%.
told everyone.
I think it's even gotten better since COVID because the cost of rebuilding that house has gone up, right? So the deal's a bit more sweeter now. But in terms of residential real estate, how do you rate it at the moment?
It's a buyer's market, 100% buyer's market. Rates are high, which means a good time to buy. Rates are going to drop. There is no way they can keep the rates at this rate for much longer. I'm amazed they've kept it this long. Like, everyone hurts with it. Investors are leaving Victoria anyway. But I think it's a buyer's market. Let me put it this way. If you had an opportunity to buy a property 15 years ago, the same property now, would you not have bought it 15 years ago?
Yeah, two, please. Yeah.
Every time someone asks me, I say the same thing to them. I go, look, it's better to buy today than tomorrow. Because it'll be more expensive tomorrow. And this was another reason, when I guess I can tie it back to the rooming houses as well. When I first bought my first property, the 24, when I paid, I think, $205,000 for it. I was earning probably 35 grand, Telstra. That was the most the bank would give me. I think they said you can go up to 210 grand. We paid 205 for it. 8 years later, when I bought my second, that property that I bought when I was 24 had doubled in value, right? About 400K. My salary, apart from working at, the ridiculous hours, if I was working a normal hour job, would have gone up to 60 grand. It would have gone up 50%. But the property's gone up double. So that means I wouldn't have been able to buy that property with that $60,000 salary.
Yeah.
That, again, Dilin and I were talking. I'm like, look, at that rate, if you think about it logically, our kids, will never buy property.
Yeah.
Or they'll have to buy it in Stale or Bairnsdale or Whoop Whoop, right?
So that's sort of the comments that I'm seeing online at the moment. The whole, it's not because I'm having avocado and toast. It's not because I'm buying a latte a day. It's because...
But that's the thing. This is what I said to you before. I don't agree with that argument. I've had that argument with other people recently. When I bought in Narre Warren, that was the sticks.
Yep.
2004, Narre Warren was the sticks.
Yeah. Do you remember Somahamdra buying...
Berwick Punsalet?
Yeah.
Like, it was the sticks. It was the Bairnsdale of back then.
Yep.
But what I did was like, you know what? That's what I can afford. Let me get into it. Because a foot in the property market is better than having both feet out and complaining about it. So, yes, I had other reasons with my parents and whatnot, but even still, I used that mentality is that I wanted to get in the property market. And if I was someone that wanted to get into the property market now, I'd be like, find out what your max loan you can get is that you can afford to pay. Don't just go for the max with whatever. Speak to Jeremy.
Yep.
Find out what your actual amount you can afford to pay is. Find out what you can buy for that, wherever it is in Australia. It doesn't have to be Victoria. In fact, if you're investing, I wouldn't buy in Victoria anyway. It's not worth it anymore. Not until the governments take away these extra taxes. I'd look interstate. Look for the biggest block of land, oldest house, best rental income you can get anywhere in Australia and buy that property. Doesn't matter if it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it will go up. I think back in the day when I did the research on this, when I was doing the housing thing, Australian properties were doubling in price every 10 years.
Yeah. As an average, yeah.
Yeah, now they're doubling every 8.
There you go.
So, like you're doubling the property value in 8 years. That means in 8 years' time, you have gotten 2, 4, 5, 6, whatever the price of the value for doing nothing.
Yeah. What would you say, I'm being a devil's advocate here going, it's not because of, the properties are great. It's because we've got an influx of immigrants who are basically driving up these property prices. And some of them are from, China and so forth, bringing cash and they're just pushing it up as opposed to the natural growth.
But that is
what it is.
Let me ask you a question. Take those immigrants out. Aren't Australians immigrants?
Yeah.
So isn't that what's happened throughout Australia's history?
Yep. Yeah.
So then,
what are we talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's the natural order. That's not just here. Everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
That is what happens. People migrate. Yes, Asian countries, South Asian or Asian, they migrate. But let's take a step back. The Anglo-Saxons migrated as well. This land didn't belong to anyone. This is all Aboriginal land.
Yeah.
So you get what
I get what you mean. Yeah. And what most people don't realize is if we didn't have the immigration that we do today, our birth rate in terms of Australia, what we've got now, it'll actually be going negative. If I'm
Yes.
not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good quote from Elon Musk. Actually, he said that.
Did he say that?
He did,
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah. So, yeah, whether we like it or not, it's required to keep the economy pumping along. Otherwise, who's going to do half these jobs, right?
Well, that's the other thing. You get people like let's use COVID as an example. I know plenty of people that were working part-time jobs. Then the government started handing out money for nothing, and these guys didn't want to go back to work.
I know. Yeah.
They got paid more for sitting at home than going back to work because they were getting the fortnightly, monthly payments, whatever it was.
Yeah.
What's realistically speaking, you've got immigrants that come in that are willing to do the jobs that the Australians aren't.
They didn't want to do. Yeah, I remember during that period where I'd go and see a tenant, and they'd be like I'm like going, "What are you doing, dude?" It's like, "I'm going to go fishing." I'm like going, "Aren't you working today? We're sort of in lockdown, but you can still go out if you're an essential worker." I'm like, nah. I'm getting more money from the handout than if I actually go to work. These were the words that were coming out of their mouth. Who am I to judge? I'm like going, look, as long as you're paying rent, you do you, whatever. But you're right, and that's the reason why we've got the debt that we've got today.
But I think when we were at ANZ back in the day, we were taught that Victoria was had a double A credit rating.
Yeah.
And now where's that?
That's gone down.
Gone.
That's gone down.
There's no such thing for us now. We were the only state in the world that had a double A credit rating from memory.
Yeah, I remember that.
We
Actually.
were taught that, and so anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So Airbnb, that's wind down. Now, are we up to?
Yeah. So, look, after the Airbnb wine, it's not winding down. Like I said, I've still got it.
Still got it.
So I've got the good properties going as they are because they do their job, and we're still able to help the owners. And
plus, you've got the client.
Because we're not here to forget the owners. They've got to make money out of it. We're still servicing it, still doing all of that, and there's still some great places that people can invest to get the positive gearing, to get the capital growth, and to be able to do something within the future as well, right? And again, I can give more and more advice on buying property. Look, if you have anyone that wants to reach out, give them my details. I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah,
right? There's plenty of things that I can do with that. But yeah, so after all that, then I had.
And I'm going to stop you there. And Dilin actually means this, right? So I know a lot of people, and I mean this. I will always tell you this. Dilin is one of two people. So the other person is my wife's uncle, who is also very generous. Second person is also Dilin. He will help anyone who needs his help. And no one can dispute this because it's absolutely true. He's helped me countless times, but not just me, not just because I'm his mate. He will help anyone who needs help. So if you need something, if you need to chat, don't abuse his time, but if you're serious about it and you need to have a chat, reach out. He will help you. But sorry, Matt, go on.
No, look, I'm more than happy to. I've got this thing where if I can help someone get better than me, perfect.
Yep.
Look, we're here for a short time. So the more people we can get to a certain level so they up themselves, it doesn't mean financially, it could be even in life, in mental state, whatever it is, then, who am I not to help?
Absolutely, yeah. It's, what did they say? Rising tide lifts all ships or something like that.
Ships, yep.
Yep. Cool. So you've got that. You've still got that chugging away, but now this new adventure.
Yeah, adventure. Well, again, I don't know if I should tie it in with the reason. I'll tell you the reason it's started.
What's the reason?
My father was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
So this is straight after COVID. And that shocked me. That was, I don't think I've ever been hit with anything harder than that because my father was fine. And then within 3 months, he'd gotten skinny and he'd gotten sick, and we took to the doctors. They didn't know what was going on, and then they found out he's got cancer. And then he was admitted within a week. And then within that week, he couldn't even talk. He couldn't move. He was bedridden. I came home one day and I hugged Dilin and I said, I don't think my father's going to get out of the hospital bed. I think he will pass away here. And this all happened within 3 months. And that was like, Jesus, sorry, I shouldn't use the Lord's name in vain, but I was like, holy crap, that's a shock. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, dude, look, I'm 40, or I was 38 or whatever it was whenever it happened. And I'm like, what have I done with my life? Like, yes, I've probably done more than a lot of people, but I've still just, lived by the cultural norms that we would, like, the cultural norms. Do X, Y, Z, take care of X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who's going to help? Like, I think eventually I've now done my part as a father so that my kids can live a better life when I die. Because look, we're all going to die. Whether it be tomorrow or in 20 years' time, when I die, my kids are going to be in a better place than what they would have been if I didn't do what I've already done. But then I know my parents have tried, they did their best for us. Who's going to help me live my dreams?
Yeah.
At 40, being Sri Lankan, our average age lifespan is 73, I think it is, for males. So I've got less time on the planet than I've already spent. Who's going to help me? I've got dreams that I wanted to do. I never would ever, like when you bought your motorcycle, I told you, I'm like, are you stupid? I mean, what are you doing? You're going to kill yourself. But the day that this happened to my father, I thought, you know what? I want to do something. And I went and bought that.
Yeah. That's a cool ride.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well, I bought something else, then I upgraded to that one I got off my learners. But yeah. But yeah, so and that was just one thing. I thought, you know what? Why not? That was a quote from Mike Wilson and the Amway Group. When people say why, ask why not.
Why not? Yeah.
And I thought, why not? So I bought one of them, and I bought this, and then this is all still while doing. And then when the Airbnb started to close down, like not close down, minimize because of COVID stuff, I thought, I've always enjoyed cars. I told you before, when I was in uni, the only thing I had was my car. Like, it wasn't anything special. It was a 180 SX. It was my baby. But I thought, but I've always loved cars. So within, 6 months of my father getting better, so he has gotten better, touch wood, he's fine now. Still dealing with it, still got cancer, but still dealing with it on a daily basis. But within that time, I realized that life is short. We might not be here. And I thought, I want to do something. I want to go buy a stupid car. And I bought this. I went looking for a car, for a Lambo in Australia, and they were well and truly above my price range. They were, $250,000. And then in that time, I had met some other friends and whatnot. And Shanil, and Isaru, both my business partners in this venture. We were talking. They've got a history in importing Japanese sports cars. Just like I bought the 180s back then.
Yeah.
They do the same now, or they did then. I went and had a chat to them, and I'm like, look, guys, this is what happens. This is the deal. These cars here are $250,000 and above. The cheapest one was $250,000. And I said, find me one from overseas. And then we found it. We found this. This was a UK car. And we did the numbers, and I saved $60,000 on this. This was $190,000. That's $60,000 saved.
Yep. And it's all street legal in Australia, compliance,
it's
on the road.
It's the exact same car as the one here.
So what's the difference there?
Because we pay taxes here. When you buy a new car, your Prado, the taxes on that, so it's a thing called luxury car tax, which is the biggest issue here. Anything on those cars, any car that's, as of this year, that's valued at over $91,000, every dollar you pay over, you pay 33% back in tax.
Right. Okay.
Right? So this car, brand new, would have been $400K, $350, $400K. That's on road. Out of that, about $300,000 of that dollars, 33% of that is just the tax, a luxury car tax.
Okay.
By importing these cars, you don't have that. Or you have a very minimum amount of it because you've already depreciated the car to a certain point that it only affects it a little bit or not at all. So like this still does, it's still got a bit because it's a $190,000 car. So there's $100,000, so about $30,000, $35,000 in tax. The Audi R8s we've got, they barely get any tax at all.
Nice.
That car there, if you buy an Australian example, like you've seen the white one or the black one or whatever it is, that one, the equivalent ones here would be about 170, but we can get them for 100K, 110K for clients.
Okay. So what's your unique selling proposition as opposed to anyone else who is selling luxury cars.
So there are a lot. So there are a couple of main companies that do it, like Dutton and whatnot, and Lorbeck. Lorbeck. I don't know if you know Lorbeck. Anyway, like these guys sell high end. They sell Australian models. They don't sell international overseas cars. So their cars are a lot more expensive.
Yep.
Right. You will not find a car like this. I will guarantee there will not be a single Spider, Lamborghini Gallardo Spider, in the country with these options for anything less than 30 grand more than what we paid for this.
Okay.
We can get the best cars at a lower price and bring them in. There are other companies that do the same thing, not the big ones, smaller ones. The difference between us and them, we're not doing numbers. We're not here to just bring them in and flog them off. We won't bring in a car that hasn't been inspected. We get every nut and bolt checked out by the factory, not some dodgy mum and dad mechanic that doesn't pre-purchase inspection. This one went back to Lamborghini in the UK. Before we bought it, we paid, I think it was $3,000 or whatever it was for an inspection.
Wow.
We've done it on other cars and lost money on it because the car came back with X, Y, and Z wrong. We're not touching it. We are willing to lose money to get the right car for the right client.
Okay.
Very simple. We won't bring in to make a couple of grand.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Okay.
It's very simple.
And you guys do the compliance as well?
Everything. So say you wanted to buy from me. You come and say, hey, Dylan, look, I'm looking for a Lamborghini Murcielago. Cool. What's your budget? What do you want? What's the color you want? What's the interior color you want? What are the specifications you're after? We take the time to find out what exactly you want is. And then we've got a team around the world, in the UK, in Hong Kong, anywhere in the world, preferably right-hand drive. We've got people that work for us now.
Okay.
We tell them X, Y, Z. This is what this client wants. Find it. A lot of the time, what those our competitors do is they just look online. We have the people on the ground that can get off-market opportunities as well.
Nice.
So things that aren't advertised online.
Yeah.
So for example, that white one, the one,
R8,
the R8 wasn't online.
Okay.
It was an off-market opportunity because they had heard from a friend of a friend that someone had one that was selling. Things like that.
Okay.
We try and do that because there's so many, not everyone advertises. Like I've got this here, I won't sell this. But so I wouldn't ever put this online, but I might give it away to someone that comes and offers me a stupid amount.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of off-market opportunities like that.
What about financing options?
Got that covered as well. That's the other thing. That's the main...
USB.
Yeah, the main thing that makes us different to a lot of other people is that we can finance cars for them. So we can bring the cars in for clients.
Because they're already on Aussie soil.
Yeah. And then when they're here, then they can get a finance for the car. So say you wanted to buy this car in the UK as a normal person, you would not be able to get finance for it from any Australian lender because it won't be a secured loan, right? It'll be an unsecured loan and they won't give this much money for an unsecured loan, right? So they'd only give X amount. It goes as a personal loan type of thing.
Yeah.
So what we do is we're able to buy the car for you if need be, bring it in, and then you get your loan, our finance guys can do it or you've got your own to put finance on the car and then you take it away.
Yep.
So we take out an extra step to open up that market.
Because it becomes, like, secured loans are easier.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, the paperwork's less, the banks are more comfortable.
Because you're securing against an
asset. Yeah.
even though it's not an asset. But
Oh no, it is. These type of cars aren't your normal cars. So I'll give you an example. I did this for a meeting that I went to a fortnight ago. I was doing some research for a meeting that Mario set up. If you bought a property in Cranbourne, so this is a house, and we all know houses make money.
Yeah.
10 years ago, 8 years ago, it was an 8-year example. If you had bought a house in Cranbourne 8 years ago, and that particular house, same house, the average, if you Google it, you can actually do it, right? The average, the median price of a house in Cranbourne, for argument's sake, say it was 400K back in the day, 8 years ago. Now it's 630K.
Okay.
Okay, just random numbers.
Yep.
It had gone up 53%. I think that was the value I got. These are all from Google, so these are not made up.
Made up numbers. Yeah.
Instead of buying that house back then, if you had bought a Ferrari F430,
Are you serious?
right,
Okay.
would have cost you 110 grand or something. I don't remember the exact. I've got it in thing, but I know the percentage. It had gone up 153%.
Same car?
Same car. The average value had gone up 153%. In that same period, the house went up 53%.
Yeah.
So round numbers, 400 grand became 600, 100 grand became 250.
Nice. Okay.
So what I mean by that, you can't compare these to the Toyota Camrys and the Toyota Corollas and the Ford Falcons. They all go down.
Yeah.
These are specialty cars. There's limited numbers. There's only 4,000 of these ever made, of the Spiders.
Right. Okay.
Right? Out of the 4,000 Spiders, there's 200 manuals. That's it.
Jeez.
The entire world, there are 200 manuals of these, 200 of these in manual.
Okay. And the fact that electric cars are coming out now, the petrol or the whatever cars are becoming more valuable.
They're becoming rare. And on top of that, usually you will, because they don't make these, so for a Lamborghini stopped making manuals after this. These was the last manuals that came out.
Jeez, yeah.
After that, they're all e-gear, which is beautiful. We have e-gears as well. They're beautiful cars. But
What did you say?
e-gear, electronic gears, automatic,
Okay.
right? Italians call it something different.
Yep.
But the thing is with that, the fact that every day that goes by, the number of these actually drop because someone's run off, gone into an accident, flooded it. You've seen the TV shows where people have rebuilt.
Yeah.
These are only going, the numbers of these are dropping, which means these have to go up because they're getting rarer and rarer. These aren't your typical Ford Falcons that they made 4 million of in a 5-year period. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, because when I was behind the wheel of this one, I was scared, right? I was scared, not because I couldn't drive it, because I'm like, I hope I don't crash this, because the pedals are like this.
Yeah, they're almost touching.
They're almost touching, but when you start driving it, it's so much fun. It's just like, it's a normal manual car, boom, boom, boom. But the pedals are like this. But yes, amazingly fun.
Investment-wise, classic cars or exotic cars, huge potential.
Okay, so for anyone looking at this and trying to convince their partner or their wife, there you go. It's an appreciating asset.
It definitely is, 100%.
Okay.
Again, do your own research. Compare any of these sports cars to what they were worth 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We've now hit probably the bottom end of the bucket. It probably has dropped a little bit in the last couple of years, mainly because of interest rates and all that stuff. That's exterior. Because again, if you don't have the excess cash to blow, this stuff drops. But when now that interest rates are eventually dropping, the money that we can spend is going up. These cars will start to go up again.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Cool. What else is there in terms of other ventures?
We've just expanded this one a little bit because I've loved Sri Lanka. You know that. I've wanted to live in Sri Lanka my entire life. I don't, which is unfortunate because, you know, it is something I would give my left arm for to live there. But family dictates that I stay here, so then we're here. But I've started a venture in Sri Lanka. It's an expansion of what we do here. In Sri Lanka, they've gone through a big financial restructuring. So, you know, Sri Lanka was very cash poor, foreign currency poor for a number of years. They've been bailed out and whatnot, and now things are starting to look up. So what they've started, so in that time, they had stopped all imports of vehicles completely. So what we did, so no one was importing. They've only opened it up as of February this year. So 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. We've decided we're going to start importing vehicles there as well, but not these type of vehicles, electric vehicles.
Nice.
Because that's the future.
Yep.
Right? No matter what any Tom, Dick and Harry says, electric vehicles are the same thing as, it's the same conversation people had when combustion engine cars, Henry Ford and whatnot, brought cars out when people were riding horses.
Yeah.
Same conversation.
Absolutely.
Also the same conversation when people said automatics, they're going to fail. Manuals are the only thing anyone will drive. No one will drive automatic. Go and try and buy a manual BMW now. You can't.
You can't.
It is the way progression, it's natural progression. It happens. Electric cars are the future for the next 20 years. Hydrogen cars and stuff may come further down the track. But the next step in this evolution is electric cars.
Do you see any issues with the electrical grid over there? Because obviously...
Yeah, it fluctuates compared to... It's worse than here. Yeah.
Hasn't been a problem?
Look,
No, not really.
Look, it will, but countries like Sri Lanka, awesome for solar power.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you have the right setup, you'll never pay a cent in electricity. You can be off grid in Sri Lanka,
Yeah, you can.
100%. All you need are batteries, solar panels, and you can have your electric car and never pay for fuel.
Yeah.
It's-
Or you could use, you've heard the concept of using your car batteries to power the house
Yep.
and stuff.
Yep.
I don't think they're quite
So
there yet. But
that's called reverse charging or something. I can't remember. There's a term for it.
Yeah.
Where they use, like my Tesla, I can potentially use that entire battery because I've got a 13 kilowatt Tesla battery in the house.
Yep.
The car has a 90 kilowatt battery. Tesla don't allow it, but if there are other brands that let you do that now here.
I remember Elon saying it can be done.
Can be
it's
done.
just a compliance thing or
Yeah,
regulatory
they're not
thing.
doing it right now. I think there's a lot of legal things. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
official
yeah.
reason. Mine would be, I don't know what the negative effect on the battery and the car would be to be always charging and
Charging
discharging
and-
like
yeah.
that. Don't know that. Obviously, they're a lot smarter than I am, so they would have their own reasons. But that is a potential for rural areas.
Mm.
Buy an electric car. I see. It's a funny story. I had when I was in Sri Lanka back in '90 holiday, would have been 94, 95. A relative of mine living rural would watch TV by connecting a TV with 2 wires to a car battery
Yeah, I've seen that.
because they didn't have electricity in the house.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're doing now with with lithium-ion
Yeah.
batteries.
Yep.
Instead of using old lead-acid batteries, we're using lithium-ion for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not anything new.
Yeah.
They've been doing it regionally in Sri Lanka for 20 years now, 30 years now.
Yeah.
So, it is the future. It's just trying to get people to open their eyes and leave the horse to come to the car
Yeah.
or go from manual to automatic.
So, actually, I was going to touch on this later, but I'll touch on it now. How do if someone wants to get in touch with you in Lanka for this, what's the best way? Is there a website?
Yeah, there will be a website. Look, it's all literally happening as we speak. So I think within the next 6 weeks, it will be up and running.
Yep.
Website's going to be there. We're opening up a service center as well because we know that not just importing cars, because any idiot can do that. There's a really big demand for people that have electric cars that don't know where to go and get them serviced.
That's an issue, right?
Yeah, because servicing, look, electric cars compared to normal combustion cars are different. They don't need the annual servicing, but things go wrong. God forbid the battery dies, the battery's dead, or the motor dies. And it's not just electric cars that this happens to. It happens to normal cars as well. So you'll get people going to you, oh, that's why we don't go electric. Not the case. Every car can have issues.
Yeah.
Electric cars have their own issues. But we're opening up a service center to go with the fact that we're importing cars for people to be able to service them for them as well. So it'll be a full package. You buy a car, you'll have X amount of warranty with it because you don't get warranty in Sri Lanka with imported cars either. So you'll have a warranty with the car. You'll have a place to take the car back if something goes wrong, or if you just want to go and get a service done.
Yep. Amazing.
It's an I guess, an all-in-one place.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Any other ventures?
I think that's enough for now. There is one more, but I won't go into that. That's got to do with the automotive cars again.
Okay.
That's next year. You'll see. We're expecting it to be quite big next year.
All right. We'll catch up again next year then. Anything else you wanted to touch on, Dills, that we haven't talked about? I know we've gone through a lot, and I feel like we've sort of skimmed through your life, even though I reckon that there's so many lessons there. But anything else?
If I could pass on one thing to everyone, and this is what I said to you before, money isn't everything. Time is worth more. Don't be scared to take a risk to get your time back. Money you can earn again. Yes, you have to work harder for another year, 2 years. But if you do that now, look, like I said, I haven't worked for anyone since I was 31. The best 10 years, 12 years of my life.
Yeah.
I have time. I get a call. Dylan, do you want to go to Hong Kong tomorrow? Yeah, cool. Let's go. I have to get permission from the wife. Am I allowed to go? Yeah, okay. Jump on a website, book a flight, literally pack my bag, leave for the airport. That's time.
Yeah.
Not, hi manager, do you mind if I take leave off next week? Oh no, you can't because we've got, this deadline. None of that. The main thing is you work as a normal person, you work for other people. I think there was a calculation that I saw recently. If you break, I don't know the numbers, Google it. The number of hours in your life, the majority of it is sleeping and working.
Yeah.
The only time you get to enjoy it is after retirement. Right?
It's very sad.
And by then you're pretty much frail and sick and like my Dilin's uncle, it happened to him. Great example. Worked hard his entire life. Had 3 kids, beautiful kids. Worked so that they could be all sorted, and was with the wife and said, look, we'll travel when the kids are sorted. We'll live our life when the kids are sorted. I think he was 50. He was diagnosed with cancer. 6 months later, he died.
Damn.
So he worked his whole life, didn't get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's what I said, like I said with my father as well, like you think we're here for a limited time. Look, we're Buddhist. We believe in reincarnation. I'll be honest, I don't remember what I did in my last life.
Yeah.
I won't remember what I did in this life next time.
Yep.
I have to enjoy it now.
So it's like YOLO kind of.
Yeah, YOLO.
Yeah.
Even though we reincarnate,
Yep.
YOLO.
Yep. No, I get it. It makes sense. I mean, you're living the best life that you can with the resources that you've got, which is
And it doesn't mean you have to fly first class. If that's what you wanted, great. It just means live your life.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do to make you happy. If you said before, you have mates and friends and people you know that are doctors, lawyers, whatever, and they hate their jobs. Don't do a job because of status. Don't do it. If anyone asks me what I do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a bum.
What saddens me is I feel like that the next generation is getting, we haven't learned the lessons from history. Next generation is getting pushed for those professions as well. I saw this amazing thing the other day, right? So this young kid, maybe 10 years old. What do you want to be, son? He was asked. And just by random. And this kid goes, I want to be a doctor. And he goes, how much do you want to make? And he goes, I want to make people better. And that's the best answer.
100%.
Because he wants to be a doctor.
That's the difference. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I invested in property for my kids and whatnot was not because I want them to be rich. It's because if they come to me at the age of 18 and go, finish school, they have to finish school. I'd like them to go to uni.
Yeah.
That's their choice. I'm not going to push them.
Yeah.
My parents pushed me. Everyone I know was pushed by their family. I am not with that. My kids, I'm doing everything I can to make my kids to be able to live a comfortable life doing what they want.
Yeah.
So if that means
100%.
they are a painter or a garbage collector, because that's what they want to do, go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there is no point
Yeah.
being and I've got nothing against doctors and lawyers because we need them all. And the ones that love doing it, they're the ones that we want.
They're the ones who we want, yeah.
Because they're the ones that do the job well.
Yeah, because they want to do it, yeah.
Any job you do, if you do it because you want to do it, you will succeed.
Yeah, just sound like our friend Gav. He was a lawyer, very smart guy, didn't want to do that and became an audiologist because he wanted to be that.
And he does it well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, like if you wake up in the morning, and this is the advice I'd give to anyone. If you wake up in the morning and go, oh crap, it starts again. That feeling, you need to take a hard look at yourself.
100%.
Because you may not have the time you think you have left.
Yeah, it's very sad. You're absolutely right. I actually spoke to a lady on this podcast last week. Her husband passed away before 65 from dementia. Just bam, gone so quickly. And she's going, what happened? He was such a intelligent, high IQ, functioning person running multiple businesses, but you're right, gone. And within a blink of the eye, yeah. So you do have to value our life, live as best as we can with the resources that we got. Cool. Thank you so much for your time, brother. Anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think again, I'm very, very thankful for you coming out. I don't know why you got me here, but
I got you because you're a beautiful person, a generous soul that the world can learn from, And I'm telling you as a brother, my wife always asks, have you got family? And I'm going, yeah, I've got family, but my boys are my family, because I can rely on you guys for anything and so forth. Thank you so much. And in terms of contacting and so forth, I'll leave them all in the show
Yeah, that's
notes
fine.
and, social media links and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.